Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Good, and returning is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I ain't dead, Jimmy. I ain't dead.
No, that's good.
I'm back, baby.
He's back. He's saying he's back. People keep asking him if he's back, and he's thinking, "Yeah, I'm back."
In black.
It's one of my favorite Keanu Reeves lines right there. Good old Keanu. I saw another one of those like where he's training for John Wick videos with like an assault rifle and stuff. And he gets to the end of this course and he does it in like 14 or 16 seconds. And he's still not happy about it. But he's got like all these people who are kind of like cheering him on. They're like, "You did amazing." And he's like, "That could have been better." Like Keanu's like, "We go again." I think they're just training that guy to be Spec Ops. You know what I mean? Like Keanu Reeves rolls into a place. Yeah. Would you like that?
So I'd say so.
You'd say so.
I've seen those videos where he does a training thing and he's running through it, and he's good, man.
Yeah, he's really good, and he's a tall dude too, which I would think would kind of, I don't know if it'd be a disadvantage, but it looks like he's kind of hunched over, and he's really tight to the barrel. You got to respect it. You respect it. Halle Berry was even out there with him too. It was cool.
I saw it.
But we don't just talk about Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry and John Wick here. We talk about movies, games, TV, music, theme parks, anything we feel like talking about. And this week, Joe is returning at a very pivotal time in gaming. Oh my gosh. Because now we live in a world where not only do we know the prices and the dates for the launches for these next-gen consoles, we also have bad pre-order days as well, to varying effects and fun times, which I'm sure if anybody listening to this is saying, "Yep, it's been so much fun trying to pre-order these things." And by that, I mean, it has not been. Joe, basically, here's the deal. PlayStation 5, they kind of had like a reveal or a more information event talking about the games that were going to be launching with the system, and talking about like the price and everything like that and when it was coming. But also like I think it was the next day, I could be wrong about this, they kind of just like the pre-orders started going up without a lot of warning. And so things got really messy insofar as people having issues trying to actually pre-order the thing. Not that it went super well for Xbox, because what they did is they started their pre-orders yesterday, which was September 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, at 11 a.m. my time. And what happened was they had some issues there. A lot of sites were crashing. A lot of bots were showing up, scooping up a bunch of these pre-orders. And a lot of people potentially, maybe, we're still not sure yet, inadvertently purchased the Xbox One X as opposed to the Xbox Series X. So I feel bad more so for the parents or the friends and family who purchased the Xbox One X thinking it was an Xbox Series X for their loved ones, because all they wanted to do was bring happiness in their lives. And they're like, "Here you go. Here's the thing you wanted." And they'll be like, "No, this is just the upgraded version of the thing I already have." So yeah, it's been nuts. It's been really crazy. But both systems right now, the pre-orders for now have kind of sold out completely. Now, I've told this story, Joe. I thought you might find it a little bit interesting. Our mutual friend, Levi, he went to a GameStop. He went there at 7:50 in the morning. And remember, these pre-orders go on sale at 11. So he had 3 hours and 10 minutes to stand outside a GameStop. Now, it's fall here in the Midwest, so it's not that bad. It's pretty nice out. But anyway, he got in there. They only had like 8 consoles. And he ended up pre-ordering a Series S because they ran out of Xbox Series X's, because there was that many people ahead of him in line at 7:50 on a Tuesday morning. So then it was like, oh, okay. And my little story for people who care, I got up to get see if I could get it. I had my tabs open, Joe. I had my Target tab. I had my Amazon tab. And I was like kind of like trying to look around these places. I was like, I'm not going to do Best Buy. I used to work at Best Buy. I'm not going to try to pre-order through Best Buy. I don't know why. I'm weird. Anyway, Amazon kept crashing and showing me pictures of dogs, because that's their error code. They show cute little dog, like little dogs of Amazon. They're like, "Oh, it's a little dog, sorry." Target, I kept loading into my cart, and then it would be like, "Your cart is empty." I did that for a while. And then I was like, screw this. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So I went, did a lunch thing, saw Levi briefly. He talked about it. And then I came home, and then my dear friend Jason, or the J-Strom, he said, "Here's what I did. I went to Best Buy online. I put add to a bundle or build a bundle around the Series X." And he's like, "Somehow I managed to get it in my cart and pre-order it still by itself, even though it was part of like a bundle." I was like, sure, I'll try it. So I did it. And somehow, Joe, after a long time, I managed to secure a Series X pre-order and the curbside pickup. So on like November 10th, maybe, I'll be able to pull up to a Best Buy that I used to work at, and they will put it in the back of my car, and I will drive away. So, yeah. And the best part about all of this, Joe, is like there's almost no like super exclusive games to either of these consoles. PlayStation 5 has like, I think it has like 2, but we found out recently they have a Spider-Man game called Spider-Man Miles Morales, which you remember Spider-Man from a couple years ago. That game is actually also coming out on PlayStation 4. I didn't know about that until a few days ago. And I was like, oh, they didn't, in the marketing, it was like, this is a PS5 game. But they have Demon's Souls, a remake of it, and then I think Godfall, which we looked at a while ago, is that kind of third person, like...
that's PS5 only?
Yeah, looter slasher, which it's fine. I don't know how that game is actually going to be. I'm curious to see. It's from the same people who made Borderlands, so
I've seen a bit of info on it. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see how it performs. But for Xbox, a lot of people have asked me, like, Jimmy, why do you want a Series X so badly at launch, especially with Halo being delayed? I was like, well, I want it. I would like to have it for Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk comes out a few weeks after that. They did bump up Assassin's Creed Valhalla to come out and coincide with the launch of these new consoles. But to be honest, as much as I love Assassin's Creed, I'm not really desperate to hop back into it at full price right now. I'm just kind of like, I know what it's going to be. I know it's Vikings, and Vikings are sweet. And I come from Minnesota, and Vikings, whatever. But I'm kind of like, maybe it's because of Ghost of Tsushima, where I'm like, I kind of had my period piece open world, and I'm kind of good for a while. I don't know. Like, have you had any, like, have you looked in on any of these, like, third-person open world games like that, or Watch Dogs, Legion, any of that stuff?
To be honest, no. I know we a few episodes back we had discussed upcoming games a little bit, what we were excited for. Cyberpunk being one of them, which I'm almost 100% positive I'm getting at this point. What else? I know we talked Watch Dogs. But of my tops, I'm trying to remember what they were. Not really, to be honest.
Sure.
My incentive for getting a new console too, and I haven't even done any of the pre-order stuff. I guess I'm just going to wait it out. I haven't had time. I don't want to shell out the money quite yet right now, I guess, either. And so I'm just going to wait it out. But my main incentive there is just to refresh what I've got, because I've been the one who's like stuck it out and stuck with the original Xbox One, the OG.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have too. It's lasted since 2013.
Yeah.
Which is outrageous, but I can tell it's getting a little rough, so I'm due. So I'm hoping that even though I haven't pre-ordered, and I'm going to wait it out till I can just like go buy one.
Yeah.
Which might not be till January 1st.
Maybe, yeah.
I hope not, but hopefully it has enough legs to make it that far. But that's really my main incentive, just to refresh that and make sure I've got something that's going to carry me and work well. But so game-wise, I don't know that there's much incentive for me. I think Halo is appealing, depending on, if I see some more on that and pay some more attention to it. Because we've had a lot of fun in the Halo multiplayer in the past. And if this new release is enticing enough and we're all interested in, like, me, you and the crew, I might jump on something like that. But other than that, what's the incentive?
Well, that's the thing, is
nothing.
I think Halo Infinite might be on Xbox One as well, maybe?
Yeah.
I think so. And I think I was wondering for you, too, because I know you're such a big first-person shooter fan, so I didn't know if, like, having something like that with a TV that could handle it, if you look to have 120 frames per second, potentially in multiplayer in Call of Duty, I don't know if that would help you or hinder you. I don't know.
I'm sure it would, and that's another part of it, too, that does kind of amp me up for a new console. And I'll tell you what I might do at that point. I might actually invest in a monitor.
Oh, sure.
Not even a TV, but just like like maybe a larger computer monitor, and just, go for something with that high refresh rate or that high FPS. so that I can garner that quality and use the advantage of the Xbox Series X. And then what I'll do is maybe just keep the Xbox One, if it's still kicking, up here for my home entertainment system, you know?
Sure.
I think that's kind of a good plan for me. And yeah, we'll see how it goes, I guess. But that's a good point. Yeah, the quality and upping, you know, if you're playing something that you're pretty competitive at or want to be really good at, and it's not as much leisure gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. You're really honed in and trying to do well, and it's competitive. I think that'll be helpful too. So that also is a good incentive for me. But yeah, and I mean, there's going to be games. There's going to be games where I'm like, I'm glad I got this, and Cyberpunk, I think, is going to be one of those.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it lives up to our expectations. From what I've heard from a lot of people, it already has from the bits they've played. But yeah, I think it's because I know I could play it on my Xbox One or my PlayStation 4, but there's something like weirdly in my brain that I just like want to have a new console and just really push this thing to its limit, even though I'm sure it's compromised in some ways because they had to optimize it for multiple generations. But still, like and you know, I think Marvel's Avengers will be a little bit better, hopefully, and by that time, some of the bugs might be fixed, like in that game. Oh. So I'm hoping that will be the case as well, because I want to kind of keep coming back to that game. But yeah, it's funny to not have like something, and not that everything launches with something like that at like a first party game. But, you know, a lot of people are looking forward to Games Pass or using that as kind of just like, well, at least I'll have that, you know, on a new system that will hopefully load things faster. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how that works.
Yeah, and we got another point to make, but I back to Cyberpunk, I'm really hoping those rumors of co-op. Come on, baby.
God,
Come on.
Yeah, or please. Not just, I hope not multiplayer, because that would kill us if it was like you versus me or something. It'd be like weird.
No, I hope not. But maybe in a similar light of Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto, only better.
Yeah.
And I want it to work.
Yeah.
Like I want to get in your session. That would be pretty cool, because this thing's going to be so open world. I think something more of that style works. But yeah, I don't know. Here's hoping. But and I know we're primarily kind of talking Xbox, you know, not maybe giving Sony as much limelight, but Xbox Series X or Series S?
Yes. What about them?
I don't buy hard copies of games anymore.
Sure. Okay, so that's a consideration for sure. So that's one of the biggest things.
What do I lose by going to the Series S?
Well, besides the disc tray, and it's a $200 price point difference, but it's also not technically as powerful. So that's a consideration. And another part of it is I think it's only 500 gigabytes in there for a memory as opposed to 1 terabyte.
Yeah, which is weird as it sounds. You can chew through that. Exactly.
That's why I'm thinking, like, a long time ago, and I've told people this too, I think I have like it's a couple terabyte external hard drive. And I remember buying it. I'm like, this is so stupid that I have to buy this thing. But now that I've gotten it, I can just have almost any game at any time, like just sitting on there, that I don't have to worry about being like, because if you have, for instance, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Call of Duty, those 3 games alone will be hundreds of gigs. Hundreds. Yes. And it's like...
Call of Duty right now, I think, is over 200 gigs.
Oh my God.
Or 180. Somewhere in that neighborhood. It's a lot.
It's too much. But yeah, so that's a huge consideration, because if, for instance, if you did want to, you know, have more games on there and not have another piece to worry about, that would be there too. So, and again, it's not as powerful. Yeah. The power thing, I think, like, you know, for a lot of people for a while, like PlayStation 4 was, I think, technically more powerful than the Xbox One. And now it's kind of flipped where Series X is going to be more powerful than PlayStation 5. That isn't as big a deal for me. I like that it's going to be Xbox this time, just because that's what I was planning on getting. But it's like TVs at a Best Buy or whatever. You see the differences. You're like, that one clearly looks better. But if you took the one in front of you home, you'd still be probably pretty happy with it. So so that's what the Series S is going to be. So it's not going to be as powerful. There are probably some other things in there to consider, but it's a $200 price point thing. And if you do physical copies or not, and if you have Blu-rays, or if you have other things that you would ever want to use your physical media on, Series X could do it, and, you know, Series S would not be able to do it.
Yeah, so for a $200 price point, I don't really lose much. Bragging rights, maybe. I don't do anything physical copy. I download all my games. I could plug in an external hard drive as it is. Although this time, if I were to do so, one thing I did with my Xbox One, I plugged in I don't think it's a terabyte. I think it's only a 500 gigabyte external hard drive, but it's not a solid state.
Ah.
So something that concerns me is that eventually that's just gonna give up, and I'm gonna be out everything I've got.
Sure. I wonder too if it might have to look into it. It might be a refresh rate thing and a frames per second thing too. Like Series S might not be like those top of the line.
So if that's an issue, then I'm getting the Series X.
I have to double check that, but I think that might be there because I feel like there's people at home listening and they're like, Jimmy, you got to tell him if he loves first-person shooters, you got to get the.
I think there was something related to that, or some sort of. There was some sort of little stipulation when they talk about the 4K that one is optimized for it, the other one is something capable. The wording is slightly different. I remember seeing it somewhere. I haven't studied the stats or anything, but I will before I buy. Yeah, hell, the way it's going, I haven't pre-ordered, so I might not have one until next year anyway.
Sure. I'm looking right now because I wanted to get that information for you just so I could be like, all right.
While you look, let me comment on one thing.
Comment.
Is it weird that when I look at the PS5 as opposed to the Series X, I look at the two of them and I associate quality with the aesthetic?
Okay, which one has a better quality to you then, aesthetically?
Microsoft Xbox, for sure.
Okay, why?
Because I look at that consolidated, nicely uniform cube and think that looks industrial, it looks tough, it looks like an appliance or a meaty item. Then I look over at the PlayStation, I'm like, look at all that plastic, wingy, shroudy bull crap that doesn't really serve a purpose other than looks, and I think it just doesn't look as like solid.
Sure.
And it looks more showy and kind of chintzy to me. Maybe the word is tacky.
Okay. I like it.
So then I look at that cube of a unit at that Xbox. I'm like, I could probably drop that thing from the second floor. It'd be good.
I like that you take a strong stance. I think the interesting thing is and I have this complaint too. My PlayStation 4 is really loud because of its fan. And apparently a lot of the design for the PlayStation 5 is to make airflow go in a certain direction, like kind of up and out.
Really?
I don't know if that's totally true or not. So who knows? But I hear you. I like the chunky solidness of just like it's just a big black box. Just like, there it is. And it's not flashy. It's like, and they even said, I think they've done press releases, and of course they always do press releases, but they said like they wanted the design to be informed by what is in it. They didn't want to be like, all right, like this is the look we want it. Now, how do we get this stuff in there? It was like, no, this is all the stuff we want packaged in this thing, and this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it's like your PC.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And
straightforward unit.
Yeah, and the Series S is the only one that kind of looks like a hot plate. So, they all look kind of like weird things. People say the Series X looks like a fridge. People say that the PlayStation 5 looks kind of like a modem or a router. Or a fan, like a tall fan, like, which to be honest, I'm sure that was one of they're like, we got to get better airflow. My issue with the PlayStation 5's look is that even when it's laid down on its side, I've seen weird like shots of it where it's shot horizontally. It doesn't look, I don't know, it just looks kind of strange. That's to me. But with Series X, at least you can kind of tip it both ways. They even have little like feet on the side of it, so you can have it sitting up or you can just tip it over. You're just like, which is nice because it's all solid in there. So for the most part, and it's like, well, doesn't matter which way you tip it. Disc trays freaked me out in the past. I've always been worried about disc trays like a 360 standing upright because I've always worried that the CD is just going to be like just shred.
I guess I always thought it too.
Yep. So this comes in from Forbes, Joe. So it says Xbox Series S has less RAM and a smaller solid state drive. So it really is a question too of how big your TV is. So if you're fine with like the 1440p, that Series S is going to output to that. But then if you want to do like 4K, you're going to have to. It says Xbox Series S will upscale to 4K.
What does that mean?
So like a 4K
that
television.
It'll do it, or you have to modify?
Yeah. Let's see. I love it. Live reporting. It says that Series S, you think less RAM with a smaller solid-state drive would hit the Series S performance, but it really shouldn't in practical terms. Games will require less memory and storage space since they'll be playing at 1440p and using smaller assets, and then it's going to upscale to 4K. I want to know about that refresh rate, though, because I feel like that's going to be one of the... And the frames per second, I don't know if they both go up to 120 frames per second. But I'm not seeing one way or the other if that's the truth right now. I'm going to have to figure it out as we go along in the show. What other feelings do you have on the designs? Do you like the Xbox Series S? It looks like a hot pad, right? Like the joke I just made?
Yeah, I almost don't remember the look of that one. It's more...
It's white with the black kind of circle on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I like that appearance better than the PS5.
Oh.
The PS5 just seems a little too tacky to me.
Yeah, sure. Here, the Xbox Series S sacrifices nothing in speed or performance, but can't play games in 4K, though it will upscale it to 4K. If you don't have a 4K TV to begin with, this might be the better choice. It's certainly the more affordable one. Meanwhile, it will play games at 1440p and up to 120 frames per second, outperforming the most powerful console currently available. So, there you go. So I guess I was wrong. I guess that it's, for the most part, very much the same. It's just that you take out...
the 4K thing, how do you upscale to 4K?
You upscale it through Magic. No, so basically it outputs to that, but then if you have a bigger TV, it will produce the image to upscale to it, if you have that. I believe. I'm sure we're going to get comments. I wish Jason was here. Jason is my TV guru, Joe. He loves his LG TVs. He was trying to sell me on one, but...
I agree.
Yeah.
My wife has an LG for her gaming TV up in our spare bedroom, and the quality of that thing is much nicer than a big TV. It's like a 42 or 38, and man, the quality on that thing, I can just tell. It's nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
But yeah, so for instance, if you both wanted to get, she wanted to get one too, then maybe you could consider getting her. Maybe you would both get Series S, or maybe you get Series X and she would get a Series S if you wanted to both play it,
Until it became a requirement, or both the Xbox Ones gave out, because she has the Xbox One S, which as of right now is in much better shape and probably a little better than my Xbox One.
Yeah.
But I don't see that thing given out anytime soon, and as long as the games that we play together are compatible on what she's got, which they will be, we'll probably keep that around for her. And then, so I think it'll work fine. But yeah, for me, I might just get a separate monitor and set up somewhere else. Maybe, I got some space in the basement. I might create a little den or a little office space.
There you go.
Cool. Little desk, little monitor.
Yeah. Get the little neon sign. It's got a beer on there.
Next thing you know, I'm streaming the 50,000 daily, and thank you for the dono, Mr. Winchester.
Oh my gosh, that would be and he just shoots to me doing this. Just shaking. You're under the critical reviews banner if you're streaming it at all. I'll be like, no. All
right, guys, thanks for a great day. I'm going to send you guys over to critical reviews. Make sure to show them some love. Give them some donos.
I'll just be sitting there and be like, no, Joe works for us. I'll be like, Joe is our cash cow. He streams every day. I got him to quit his job. And guess what? He doesn't have a retirement plan now. So he has to keep working. Get your KDR up, Joe. But so I think it's really fascinating, and again, I think it really comes down to really first, if you're into games a lot, first party titles, and eventually, right? So we're talking about games. For me, I love Gears of War, I really do, and I know they're going to keep making Gears of War games, and I know that it's going to be on Microsoft's stuff. It'll either be on Xbox or it'll be on PC, and because I don't have as much money as I would like to, upgrading my PC can get really expensive, and if you don't have the money for it, you can make a cheap PC, don't get me wrong, but it's just something there's something intrinsically nice about having a console, because at least I know it will, every game I buy for it will work on it right away. I don't have to ever worry that my console will get outdated until the generation jumps and they're like, all right, we don't make games for it anymore. But they did tease, the next God of War for PlayStation, and that makes perfect sense. I'm really hoping that it's only on PlayStation 5, so it's not compromised in any way, and they can utilize the new power. Like that's what we really want to see, right? So, and there's that Horizon Zero Dawn, which Forbidden West, the sequel, which we've also found out now that will be on PlayStation 4 as well. But between that and the new Spider-Man game, I'm pretty sure if I had either of those run on my PlayStation 4, the joke I keep making is it would take off into the stratosphere because the fan would be like, and it would just start, it would hover. My PlayStation 4 would hover, and I'd be like,
start your desk on fire.
Yeah, exactly. My whole room would just like that. But and that's because Horizon, the team, probably started working on the sequel after the expansion, and they only had PlayStation, 4 at the time, and then they probably were given the dev kit for PlayStation 5, and they're like, all right, kind of make a cross-gen one. I wouldn't be surprised to see if they make a trilogy that next one would be PlayStation 5 only. So, but yeah, so that's a consideration too for a lot of people. But a lot of people, if you've had a PlayStation 4 for years and you love it, then yeah, you're probably just going to get a PlayStation 5. Or a lot of people, what I've heard, and I'm probably going to do this too, I hope that I can own both one day, and I'm going to wait for the prices to come down, those first party titles to come out, those single player games to, ship, and then maybe those will be, at a cheaper price, and then I can get a bundle or a special edition version of the PlayStation 5 that's, God of War or whatever, something that like for me would be great. And a lot of this, as I tell people, is the social aspect. Because N64 is probably like my favorite console of all time because you play with people in the same room. But I like to play where, Joe, where you're playing, or where like, Jason or these other people that I've talked about, Levi. And well, if he's not playing World of Warcraft, but like I like to play where I know people and I don't want to have to purchase multiple subscription services. So if you're on PlayStation and you're like, Jimmy, why wouldn't you come talk to me? It's because I don't want to have to pay an extra $60 a year to not play multiplayer games on a system that I buy for single player games. Because I buy PlayStation for God of War and Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima. That was a consideration. Persona 5. A lot of these things that like I'm not going back to a lot, and they don't have multiplayer components. So I'm cool waiting personally. But for a lot of other people, that's not the case. And some of the people I know who are big Sony fans have even said, and there's probably Microsoft fans like this too, they're like, I'm cool waiting. I'm cool waiting for a bit. Like, I didn't have to fight for the pre-orders. I'll get it eventually. Like, I'm not crazy about Demon Souls remake. So, like, you don't have to get it. And there's such a feeling of, like, I got to get it the first day, right? And I feel bad because I feel that too, but you don't. It's okay. I probably should because I'm trying to be in games business a little bit, but it's hard for me, all right? So that's how I feel, Joe. That's how I feel. How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel like I'm missing out because I'm going to get mine like 3 months later than you.
That's okay. You can still try.
God, will I be able to get Cyberpunk and like transfer it from the, I put it on Xbox One, but then I'm going to have to...
You might be able to. You might be able to transfer that up because I'm thinking if that's the case with Marvel's Avengers, I don't think they're going to make me play through the whole game again. They're like, hey, you're going to have to start over, buddy. And I feel like,
right?
No. Yeah, I think you might be able to. It might go with your profile, Joe. So if you took your profile, which I only found out recently, every time you transfer from like 360 to Xbox One, and I don't know if this is for sure yet, but potentially from one to the new series, they give you a free gamer tag change. They're just like, if you want to change it, it's not $10, just change it.
Dude,
so it's like I
just realized a month ago that I can do one and I haven't done it. And I'm for a second I was like, oh, I can do that. And I'm like trying to think what would be a great one. And I'm just like, hold on, Joe, don't make any hasty decisions. This is a big deal.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, should I just call myself Jimmy Good on there? Just feel like, just straightforward, no weird nicknames. That way people are like, oh, Jimmy's online. I can see because it says his name.
No,
like,
something really catchy. Really catchy.
Like Ghost Rider is the best. Marvel, what's wrong with you? Or Nicolas Cage for life, but life is LYFE. Like, oh my god, yeah, Ghost Rider, there he is. I'm just gonna keep bringing him up until they put him in the game. But anyway, that's kind of like the breakdown from that stuff. For people who are listening and for some reason don't know the prices of all of these things, right now the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are at $499.99.
Not as bad as I thought. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised too. The Xbox Series S is at the $299.99, which is the lowest, that's a pretty amazing that it's the low price point, but it's more powerful than like some of the other current stuff. But then the PlayStation 5 discless version, the digital only, that's at $399.99. I will say this, I will give PlayStation props for just making it very straightforward with their messaging or their marketing insofar as the names go. It's not like the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro discless setup or something like, you're gonna be like, or it's just straightforward. It's just the 5, it's not like the series is starting to get a little tricky. I just want Xbox to commit to a name. Like Project Scorpio, they should have just called it the Scorpio. Just give it a weird name. I don't know. I get it. It's a numbers game. Just call it the Xbox 8. That's what I would do. I would really mess with people. So that way when parents go buy it, they'd be like, well, my kid deserves the best. And 8 is better than 5, so I should just buy that for them, right? Again, I still feel bad for people who bought a 1X. And Joe, I thought for the longest time, I kept checking my Best Buy pre-order. I was like, is there a chance that I inadvertently purchased the 1X? And I'll get it. I'll be like, yeah.
Makes you paranoid, right?
It does make you paranoid. The other big piece of news I want to talk about here today with you, Joe, and we've talked about it a little bit, or I tried to the other day when my stream was just dying, but because the internet there was an outage in my area, which just, of course there was. Anyway, I'm not frustrated by it, but so Bethesda and ZeniMax, their parent company, they had an announcement on Monday, and this came right before the pre-orders went live on Tuesday. Really calculated, good for them. But Microsoft is purchasing, or in agreement to purchase, ZeniMax and Bethesda. So, Joe, what does that mean? That means that the banner of those games, you're looking at Elder Scrolls, Doom, Fallout, a bunch of stuff, right? Wolfenstein, the list goes on, and Starfield.
Controlled by Microsoft.
Which is so fascinating because I was looking at this, and we had Rick Hogue on the show last week, and he does a show called Virtual Legality, and he talks about all the legal kind of ramifications of things. And he was talking about this on a show. Go check it out. It's great. But he talked about and showed this. Microsoft is moving. It's like, I think of it more as like a Netflix model where they're trying to purchase up all these companies to produce things to put on Games Pass so that way they can have them forever. And like constantly keep people invested, right? But they had 15 studios, Joe, and now with this addition, they'll have 23. Mm-hmm. So that's basically 50% increase in that, like, what you have. That's nuts. And the question on a lot of people's minds are like, does that mean from now on, like, if they make, the next Elder Scrolls, the next Skyrim, like, sequel, will that be exclusive to Xbox? And they said that all that stuff is on a case-by-case basis. There are 2 games right now that are exclusive to Sony that are under Bethesda leadership or Bethesda titles, such as it's called Deathloop, and there's another one called Ghostwire Tokyo. And Microsoft said that was still going to go through, and that was still going to be exclusive. However, my thought is this, Joe: if they still make these games and they can make them cross-platform and still make money off of them somehow, like if it's a really good deal for Microsoft, I could still see them trying to do this, where if they make the next Fallout, they put it on PlayStation as well, and PlayStation has to kind of buy it from them in a sense. Like, wouldn't that be weird? Like,
it would be. Yeah, like a little extra money maker by doing that. It's a good power move for them.
Yeah, is that kind of how you feel? You're not a huge fan of any of those necessarily.
I'm not necessarily, but just looking at it from the business aspect, it's interesting. And did they even talk about the kind of cost?
Yes.
With that?
So that's what I want to talk about too, and I brought this up for other people. So the full cost of this, $7.5 billion. That's a lot of cheddar, but Microsoft is valued at about $1.5 trillion. That's a lot.
Drop in their bucket.
Now to put this in perspective for people who watch this show and like entertainment, we love talking entertainment stuff, and these things are very, very different, but it's something I thought about. Star Wars, when Disney purchased it, about $4 billion. Marvel, when Disney purchased this, about $4 billion. So Star Wars and Marvel together are like $500 million more than all of the Bethesda stuff that like Microsoft just bought. That's kind of nuts. Like, when you think about it, like, and again,
however,
they're different.
It's not just rights; they're also getting like the entire, like all the assets. Like you're talking like the company, the building, the brick and mortar, as well as the people who work there, all the infrastructure, etc. So there's probably, one is just rights. So I understand how that compares a little bit. Still slightly surprising considering the return that you get out of each.
Yeah.
But Not totally surprised. Not totally surprised.
Yeah, and apparently for people who don't know this, and I didn't really either because they didn't really promote it as much, because I think this is a good move for Microsoft. I think it's a power play, and it's good for them. A lot of people are like, well, PlayStation should go buy Konami. Sony should go buy Konami. It's a difference. Sony doesn't have as much money as Microsoft. It's just, they're different, very different companies. And the gaming division of Microsoft is a lot smaller than people think in Microsoft itself. However,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a smaller piece, and I think this just shows that they're really going to commit to making games, because for a while there it might have been like, they're kind of in, they're kind of out, like, is Xbox a real thing for this big, computer company? And they're really in, and Phil Spencer's like, yeah, dude, we're like doing this. So but apparently ZeniMax was having some issues financially, so this might have been a thing where it was like a buyout that saved those companies from going completely under. So I don't know exactly all the details of that, so maybe there was that choice was in there, or that factor was in there. It was not something that like Microsoft came out and they're like, we are the best people ever, and we saved all these people and all of their jobs. Like, I don't think they were going to, release that, but maybe that was the thing. And for me personally, as I've told other people, I've always thought of Doom as being like an Xbox game. It makes, like, in my brain, I'm like, that seems like an Xbox, like it's like, Doom or Fallout or some of those other Bethesda titles. I'm like, yeah, not that it can't be on PlayStation, but it's the same way that, like, when they have like Doom on Switch, I'm like, really? Like, I'm like, that's because I just think of like Mario and Animal Crossing. Not that they don't have Bayonetta and stuff on there too, but it's like, it's just in my brain, I'm like, all right, cool. And the thing is, people get worried about stuff getting bought up. The government might get involved in this one because, like, when Disney purchased Fox, there might be like, monopoly worries, or kind of like, is this really going to be best, and not like, is this making a less competitive market? The hope is that this makes Microsoft a scarier and stronger competitor to Sony, and Sony's got to be like, man, we got to really up our game, like, and they're constantly upping their game all the time. And then, as I've always said, it just benefits us, the consumers, because they have to fight for our affections. It's like divorced parents. I should know. Like, it's just like,
True.
they fight. Well, mine didn't fight that way, but it's still, I'm just saying, I think it could be really nice. And I'm really interested because, Joe, they purchased Obsidian Entertainment a while ago. And these are people who worked on one of the offshoots of Fallout called Fallout New Vegas. And then the Fallout people under Bethesda are kind of under the same roof again. So I wonder if there's going to be any sort of like kind of interplay or change between these companies in a way, or sharing of assets like you're talking about. Like, not only the brick and mortar, but the digital stuff too. It could be really
cool.
I
mean, ultimately, they should all be able, having all of those affiliates should help all of their, everything they put out.
Yeah,
be better because they have so many resources to draw from.
Yeah, and the crazy thing too is if they're producing brand new games, Xbox is kind of committed to putting every brand new game on day one on Games Pass. And I think, like I said, the Netflix model where you have all these studios who are constantly producing content, and people just have these subscription services forever. So like that's the hope. Like, Microsoft wants a brand new game, like not every day, but like every month, like just
Describe Games Pass for me then. They want to put these games out on Games Pass immediately.
Yeah. So Games Pass
okay, go ahead.
Basically it's a service kind of like Netflix. It's a subscription service where you pay a monthly fee, and then you get access to a huge library of games that you can download, but you only have access to them while you have the subscription. So you don't buy the games, but you could download any of those games in the Games Pass library and play the entire thing all the way through. So, for example, let's say, Joe, you wanted to play the new Gears of War 6 campaign, but you didn't want to buy the full game. So instead, what you might do is you might be like, all right, I'm going to get Games Pass and sometimes they lock you in for more than a month, like 3 months or whatever. And that might be $45 because it's $15 a month. I forget what the pricing is now, but they'll try to bundle it with gold to make it kind of cheaper. But basically that way you pay less for playing or getting access to Gear 6. You might play the campaign all the way through. You might play the multiplayer a bit, the horde mode, and then you're done with it. And then maybe you would try out some other games on there. And that's where they get you, because they want you to stick around to try the other games. But if you're like, yeah, I just played that and played a little more Halo and I signed off of it, now I don't have access to those anymore, but I don't really care because I'm playing Call of Duty and I don't need Games Pass to play Call of Duty. That's kind of the allure, that you get to play these games day one at not full price, just for the one game.
So if you're a little more of a selective individual, the Games Pass isn't really a deal or your thing, right? Like, so I know I'm getting Cyberpunk. I think it's worth it. I know I play Call of Duty. I'm buying it, right? So if you kind of have a lane you stay in and you do your research and well, I don't really feel enticed to have to try that out. I'm either getting it or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
If you're that way, then the Games Pass doesn't really fall into your court as much then.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Series S is kind of going for that. I think of like if I was 17 and I had a Series S and Games Pass, I'd probably be completely content because I'd be like, I don't need any like physical copies, and I've got like hundreds of, thousands of games potentially to play, like all the way through, like all that stuff. And it's nice because if you have that digital library, then you don't have to worry about having a disc tray. So that's why the Series S, they marked it so low. So they want people to buy Xbox Series S and then get Games Pass together, and then you have
Although you can still go to the store and buy the game copy digitally and own it.
Yep,
and
exactly. Yep.
You're still, so you've got, but then the Series X can do the same thing, but you have a disc tray in case you like CDs.
Yep, and more memory,
Yeah, it's weird to think that discs are still a thing, isn't it?
It is weird to think discs are still a thing. That's true. Yeah, I agree. I remember when Nintendo GameCube came out with the tiny little discs. I was like, what?
Yeah, are you surprised that it's almost surprising that not everything is converted now to like maybe like a thumb drive?
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Or something of that nature, literally like a little dongle like you get with like a mouse and keyboard. You just plug that in. If that's a game you want to play, you plug it into the front of the Xbox, or there's like 4 USB slots in the front. You can have them all plugged in and you just select from the one you want to play or something like that.
Sure.
I'm surprised it hasn't converted to something more along that style, or something similar from something is, delicate as like a disc.
Yeah.
Like how often have you scratched a disc just a little too much and now it doesn't quite work right, or it sometimes it'll get past that first loading screen. Yep. Sometimes it won't. I've had that in the past.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, and Joe, you probably haven't seen this as much, but like, so this is like Nintendo's. So this is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and this is the case it comes in. It's a pretty tiny weird case, but then you open it up and that's the cartridge. It's a little
micro SD almost.
Yeah, basically.
An SD card.
But they put this whole thing for security purposes. And I wonder if it's like you would lose this, or this would be easier to steal if they just had like a tiny little box that it came in. It was just like a little box. So,
yeah. Or think about that. Like, like my wife is a photographer. So like she has you call them memory card or an SD card, right? Although some of those are only 32 gigabytes, but I know you can get pretty big with those if you're willing to spend the cheddar. But I guess that's where the CD is more, it's more economical for them to produce their games on those. They can store that much data on something that's $1.
Yeah.
Instead of an SD card that costs them quite a bit. Plus, maybe that's why we don't see that as much, because our technology is a little more expensive, I guess. So the return on investment isn't as big. It's interesting to think about. I love all this hardware discussion.
I know.
This is a little change for
I was
us.
hoping you'd like it. I was like, well, we're going to change it up a little bit here. And I'm talking about the guts, even though I don't have all the information on the guts. So again, I hope this conversation for anybody who might be on the fence, if you're listening to this or for the very first time, hi, welcome. But I just want to provide just kind of like our perspective. But really, and this is the same way with games too, research this stuff. This stuff is expensive. Like, regardless of how much money you have or don't, do yourself a favor and look into this stuff. Even if it's a game, try to find some information on it. There's always information about games out there. There's always reviews out there. But for these consoles, look through the specs and don't get maybe so hung up on some of the things if you're not like a hardcore, like I need to be, like we're talking about first-person shooter stuff. But look at them, say, okay, which games am I looking forward to? What's my budget right now? And what makes sense for me? Because there's still people who really love their their physical stuff, their physical media. And I get that. I'm moving way more towards the digital because I don't have a ton of space. Plus, I don't like to lug all that stuff around. But some people love and make and build their hobbies around like making a game room that's got every game they've ever played.
Yeah, your display shelf with the underglow lighting for all your
exactly. Which is fine. It's just that's not who I am. If that's who you are, then you probably want to get one of these things that has a disc tray, or you didn't do that, because you'd be pretty sad if it didn't. So, which I love that the new disc trays. Oh, on Xbox, that was the same. Xbox One, they started doing the whole it's just part of it. The one before that was Xbox 360, just kind of put that little sad tray out, and I'm like, please don't break. But so don't go research this stuff, and remember, there is a difference between Xbox Series X and Xbox One X. The new thing is the Series. Look for the Series stuff. If it says Series in it, then you're in the right place.
They didn't think that through very well. They should have gone with something a little different than X.
Well, the problem is here's the thought. So they're calling the new Xbox is supposed to be just the Xbox, and then they're making a whole different line of series. So the first two will be Series X and S, and then they could make Series Z or Series A, or down the line. I just probably would have gone with something else. I just would have been like, all right, just call it something else. It is weird. I like the idea of just a strong proper noun. Just call it the Scorpio, or call it Project, or call it Scarlet, or call it whatever. I don't care. Even though you'd have to make them all red then. Yeah. The Xbox Emerald, that's the one I came up with the other day. I was like, do you have to make it all green? But green's their thing. I don't know.
A little green glow instead of the white glow of the Xbox logo. Have a green glow.
I want that green glow back on the Xbox controllers. I remember seeing the white on the Xbox Ones, and I was like, I kind of miss the green because it's kind of your brand. But anyway. Sure. But please go and look at this stuff and make the decision that's best for you. And maybe you're going to wait to pre-order because all these pre-orders are flying off the flipping virtual shelves right now. So keep that in mind. But, talk to whomever you would buy this for, or if you're buying it for yourself. Look into it, study it. If you have more questions, we can circle back to it next week. I'm happy to talk about this stuff more and more because I learn more, and then I can learn more about my own PC to make a better PC eventually too, which thankfully Fraggedin out there has been sending me videos and stuff. He's like, look into this. If you got this processor, it would probably help a lot. And I was like, thank you, sir. Because I'm that type of guy who gets a thing because I've gotten to consoles, and through my whole life, that I get a thing and I try to just use it until it's dead. PCs can get outdated a lot more quickly, or you can just take pieces and pull them out and put new pieces in. I'm not used to that. I'm used to brand new PC, in consoles. You're just new Xbox goes here, or new PlayStation goes here. So yeah, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's been hardware talk with Jimmy and Joe. I hope you'll.
Well, and the other thing to consider besides all your specs, just to cap it off, and you hit it on the head. What are your friends getting? Yeah. There's a major social aspect of gaming. I'm sure that's why a lot of people do it, or one of the major reasons you do it. That's a big deciding factor too. Talk to your friends. What are they getting? What are they into? Yeah. Make sure you can still hang out with your buds,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that even if I'm on Series X, that's the nice thing is I think Xbox Live is just Xbox Live. So it's not well, you can't talk to your friends anymore. That'd be such a mean wall to put up. They'd be like, you're paying for online, but you'll never play with your friends again.
And if you're really split, think about the cross compatibility, which is becoming more of a thing and is going to become more typical moving forward. I know, like Call of Duty Warzone, cross-platform, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. A lot of games are probably going to get that coming up, or some that are more multiplayer focused, but something to consider as well if you're torn, or I really want the Sony but my buddy's getting an Xbox. Well, what do you typically play together? Will it work? Maybe it will, but yeah, I don't know, just fun to talk about and kind of part of my French, but shoot the shit on. I'm excited about it. I think I don't want to say long overdue, but it seems like they have taken that step up that they've needed to justify a new generation of consoles. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's good too. It's making me start to think about new TVs and stuff as well. So it's a lot of money involved where I'm like, oh gosh, do I have the money for this? But
the other hardware has to keep up too, right?
And then I'm thinking I have to buy a new charge pack for the new controller because that probably won't work on the new ones, and I have to see what the
about
audio
my
jack...
Elite controller? Will my Elite controller work on this?
Is the audio jack different? I'm looking forward to holding that new controller because honestly, I've still had the same Xbox One controller the entire time because I'm a
That's impressive.
Man.
I've gone through 8 of them.
You do crush your controllers. He's got that grip. He's like, oh.
Listen to me play Monster Hunter sometimes,
Oh my gosh.
and you wonder how I don't go through one every time I sit down to play it.
It's amazing. Yeah, I am looking forward to it though, and I'm planning on doing an unboxing video once I finally get this thing. I know everybody and their brother is going to do one, but it's going to be really fun, and I'm excited to like show it off and look at the thing and just kind of get a feel for how big it actually is and how it's going to sit in and amongst all the things I already have. So it's like, yeah, it'll be fun. But people are asking me today, like, what's the first game you're going to get? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'll wait on like Watch Dogs Legion to play on there.
Transfer a few of your old things for sure. The things that you always go back to play or are currently playing, transfer those up. And then second Cyberpunk comes out, snatch her up.
Exactly. That's okay. Another thing too. I don't know how much of this stuff, if it's just like all the Xbox like One games. I don't know what they're moving forward, if all of them are going to work, because that's another consideration too. But the nice thing about Cyberpunk is I was like, oh, I should get a physical copy because it's going to go away. Oh wait, I can just get a digital copy. Like, we're finally in that generation now where I'm not worried about getting the game itself. Where I'm like, oh, they've got an infinite number of codes, basically, for this sort of thing. So on that day, I can buy it. You know, I can just be like, boop. It's not like I have to go and like...
Sorry, we're all out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Amazon's like out of stock. And I'm like, no. And they're like, we can deliver it in 5 weeks. And I'm like, no. It's just like, oh, I could just... And for me, again, because I like the digital aspect, I love it. But I'm still getting the CD tray because I want to potentially, if I had to do that with some of the games and some Blu-ray stuff, and I like having more memory. And yeah, that's just my thought. And plus, I like the look of the thing. You're right, Joe. I'm with you. I wish the PlayStation were black. It would make me feel better. I just like the big chunky black box, baby. I like his big old boy. I'm gonna like just title that video like "Chunky Boy," and it'll just be like
I look at it and I feel like it's gonna weigh a solid 20 pounds.
I like it.
And I like the sound of that for some reason. It makes me feel like it's more valuable and more robust.
Yeah.
And then I look at that PlayStation 5 and I'm like, I mean, that thing's going to be like, 3 pounds tops? I mean, it looks like I could tip it over at any second.
Exactly. Yeah. And maybe that's the American in us. We're like, we like that big, chunky thing. It's solid. We're getting our money's worth. It looks like a big pound of lead or 10 pounds of lead.
Do I want that little Prius that's going to get crushed, or do I want this big old diesel T-Rock right here? I tell you what.
Thankfully, the Xbox Series X does not put off diesel fumes. That'd be great. Like, the fan's really good, but it also emits smog.
I mean, you lay down the throttle on that thing, you're using a lot of processing power, and that thing's going to blow some black smoke, let me tell you. But it's good. It's good. It means the injectors are working well.
I was watching a little of this, like, Grand Tour thing, and it's just, I can just see it. I'm sitting there like, I'm pushing 115 frames per second, now we're moving up to 120 frames per second, you can see it smoking. But
it's a good smoke, nobody smoke.
Yeah, that's the American version. They're British, so it'd be more like, it's quite lovely, actually. It's quite brilliant. Like, you know, that's what it'd be like. But,
I can literally feel the desk vibrating from the hum of the motor.
Exactly. The chair that I'm sitting on right now is actually supported by a PlayStation 5. It's hovering off the ground that far. Just sitting there, I'm like, oh, it's like a yoga ball. Yeah, see, I just, if the PlayStation 5 could hover with a fan, I would be really excited about it. I would probably buy it. I'd be like, so you're saying it hovers like all the time? Be like, well, when you turn it off, it just slams into the freaking desk or the floor or whatever. Oh my gosh.
God forbid, don't set anything on it.
Don't set anything on it. You can tip it on its side. I don't know if it comes with that stand. It might, but it does look strange. You know what? That would be a fun job to have, though, to be the designers for these things. Because like with that one, it was very like kind of go more modern, kind of more obtuse shape or whatever, you know, maybe it's very streamlined for purpose. But then like Xbox, they're like, all right, let's put all this stuff in there and just try to make it look just like a big column of darkness.
So I know we're getting down a rabbit hole on it, but the thing I take away from it, and I compare it this way, HP has since upgraded their designs, but if you compare like a MacBook to like, you know, a Dell computer or a Lenovo even, you know, that's what I have at work, and I compare the two, and I think the aesthetic and style of like a MacBook that's very sleek. It's minimalist style. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of clunkiness to it. It's literally streamlined. There's some ports, and that's that. And when you shut it, it's like very uniform and smooth, and there are no catch points on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And then you compare it to like the Lenovo or something. It's got kind of an odd shape. There's a hinge in the back that sticks out just a hair, and all the ports are kind of weird. There's like some ridges to it. And that MacBook is just smooth and like a book when you fold it up.
Yeah.
I compare it the same way. That PS5, there's nothing sleek and uniform and minimalist about it. Whereas that uniform black box with the cool grill on top that's kind of concave, I just like that, man.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like that.
I forgot about the concave
simple.
Top. Yeah.
Yeah. Not too much, but it's got that little bit of it's like got that grill. I like that. It's minimalist. It's very compact and just straightforward. Whereas I get maybe it's purposeful on the PS5, but all these fins and other sticking out points and stuff, and you catch it. Yeah, apparently it can turn horizontal, but can I store it vertical where I put it unless I get the special stand? I don't know, whatever. And granted, the Xbox is a tall, square tube or cylinder, if you will, but I'll find a place. That's kind of in my mind how I compare the two, and I think that's one reason, like say a MacBook is so successful, Apple is so successful, is because of that aesthetic and the minimalist design of it. It's just sleek and almost. It has more of a high-tech feel because of that, maybe.
Sure. Oh, by the way, I just confirmed PlayStation 5 does come with a stand. They both do. So just so you know.
Good.
I also thought I was like, I forgot about the concave thing on the Xbox. I'm like, so you can't put I can't put like a little coaster.
I can't hold my drink.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And the last thing about the MacBook, I agree with you. It's completely smooth. Doesn't have all those edges. It's kind of like a rock you find down at a river. And you know what? It's just as useful as one. I gotcha, Apple. I gotcha. No, MacBooks are pretty great. Honestly, like I respect. It all started with those apples, those weird apples that were just like, it was a PC that you could just grab the handle on. It was like a GameCube.
Yeah, but it was all in one unit.
It was all in one unit. We used to have one of those. Used to play a Jurassic Park game. It's like, and that's where it started.
I used to play MDK.
MDK?
Anybody know what that is? It's like the weird black outfit guy, and he's got like the pterodactyl helmet on, and he shot out of his arm, and he could run at a parachute.
Oh, not Nanosaur.
I played that too. That was great.
A good game,
but there was that, but there was also that MDK game.
Okay, I believe you.
It was good for the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward, it's just so cool. It's fun to talk about these things. I just would love to see some of the, like when a movie comes out, they show you all the concept design for stuff that didn't make it into it. I would love to just see, and they're probably saving it for future console generations, but to see some of the scrapped designs that they had for both of these consoles. Like, I wonder if Xbox was ever going to go for something really frilly, even though when you look at Xbox One, it's very purposeful to be like, it's just like a black rectangle, so the fan is pretty big and like you're never going to hear it. Whereas like the PlayStation 4 had like the angles, it's kind of got this like rhombus shape. So I'm not surprised that they kind of went even crazier with it. What is the PS6 going to look like, though? That thing might hover. It might be a sphere in the air that just hovers and just, it's like a disco ball when you play it. That'd be pretty neat. I'm calling it right now. Anywho, those are that's kind of the hardware talk and talking about all those things and that big acquisition by Microsoft. We'll see what happens in the future with all that stuff. But yeah, it's really fascinating. And I'm also curious to see what Switch will do in the future. There's been rumors floating around of a Pro Switch that's going to support 4K resolution. That'd be pretty nuts. And that probably would be out of stock for a long, long time. So we'll see. Anyway, look at that, Joe. We got an hour out of that. How good are we? We're the best. Anyway, Joe, we get to move into that segment of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call...
Time Killers.
That's right, it's time for Time Killers. It's the games we've been playing, the TV shows we've been viewing, the movies we've been watching. It's great to have you to be on the show, because everybody else I have on as guests, and I love them all so much. But I have to explain that I'm going to do that. And then when I do it later on, it's as if they've forgotten and they think I'm like accosting them because I'm like, Time Killers. And they kind of laugh nervously like, what are you going to do? So anyway, Joe, what have you been killing time with since we last saw you?
Not a heck of a lot. I have been checking out movies. I think as of recently, I watched The Tax Collector.
The Tax Collector?
Yeah, with Shia LaBeouf, and I don't know any of the other actors.
Oh, he got a tattoo on his chest for that movie.
Yes.
Just for that movie. Yeah. Was it good enough to get a tattue on him for life, like Lord of the Rings?
He wasn't even the main character.
Holy shit. Like commitment where commitments due, right? Like you gotta give them, but like it's not like in the Lord of the Rings cast, they all like a lot of them got like the little like 9 or whatever, but like he got like a full flipping.
It was a good movie, and if you're watching it for Shia LaBeouf, your desires are misplaced.
Dude, what a well put sentence.
Yeah, like granted, he's in there, and his character's interesting and kind of cool. But like I said, not necessarily the main focus or the main character, at least for the last half.
Okay. So he dies.
If you put 2 and 2 together, maybe you can.
Did it. Who's the main character, or what were the main characters?
I don't know their actual names. I don't remember their names in the movie either. But it's kind of like a gang thing.
Okay.
Warring, gangs that don't necessarily get along, but they're all controlled by higher ups and basically drug lords in Colombia, kind of a thing, that ship the drugs and they sell the drugs and then they get a big cut, right? So these guys are hired by one faction or one of the lords to go and collect from the subsidiaries that sell, right? These gangs in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they know the drill. They show up, hey, we need this much money because we know we provide you this much product. You owe us this. And if it's short, they come back and kill you, basically. Okay. And so that's kind of their job and what they do, and they don't get hassled with because they know the repercussions are pretty bad. However, their boss or controller higher up is kind of in some hot water with another gang, kind of distracted kind of a thing. So they start to get taken advantage of. Next thing you know, this other guy tries to take over their business and territory, kind of a thing, and it gets in a big scuffle and this and that. And the one guy's family, the one collector's family, they don't sell drugs or anything, they just collect the money. His family, gets kidnapped and this and that, and his wife gets killed, and I'm spoiling the whole thing, but
Good.
The whole vengeance factor and all this and that. But anywho, it's good. I would say the ending it's dramatic, it's well done, it's slightly cliche or maybe a little too easily found, the conclusion. I expected maybe something a little more. It's very realistic, straightforward, I guess is how I would put it. And for the movie that this was, I almost wanted something a little more brainy, if you know what I mean.
Cerebral, yeah.
Yeah. And so it doesn't quite deliver there, but worth a watch, yes, if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah, well, overall, I give it a decent review. If I was giving it a rating scale, I'd call it like a 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8. Maybe an 8. That's a little generous, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea movie either. Mm-hmm. It's just good, and it was worth it. You rent it for $5 or whatever, and there it is. But cool. So yeah, that's what I've been killing time with. Otherwise, we all know I've been playing Call of Duty like a madman. I'm an addict. I admit it. All right. First step is admitting you have a problem, right?
Yep.
So there's that. But yeah, how about yourself, Jimmy?
Let's see. I finished rewatching the Imagineering story because that's who I am. I was like, I'm gonna watch this again because I really like it. And there's I can tell I'm getting older when I'm just so into watching documentaries and then into rewatching kind of documentaries or docu-series. I'm like, this is pretty good. I watched one a while ago called Howard. That was brand new. Back earlier in September on Disney Plus, which is about Howard Ashman, the lyricist behind such classics as The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and talking about his, rise to that position, but then on his unfortunate, untimely passing. But yeah, that was really cool. Some of these, like, if you start piecing all these documentaries they have on Disney together, you start to get like a pretty decent picture of how some of these things have gotten made and from different perspectives. So that kind of stuff is really fascinating to me. I'm like, wow, like the amount of people and stories behind all this, they're nuts. It's nuts. But anyway, so there's that. The Blacklist has returned to Netflix, the new season, so I got to watch that because my boy James Spader, whom I love so very much, I gotta watch that because I love it. I watched the first season. There's only one season out, but it was called Teenage Bounty Hunters. It's about two young women. They're like 17. They're twins. They're fraternal twins, and they go to like a religious school, but they inadvertently kind of get involved in bounty hunting, and they start kind of working with a guy, so they kind of have to lead double lives, kind of very superhero-esque in some ways, where they have to kind of lie to people about what they're doing, at night, because they're out collecting bounties, for stuff. So that was pretty funny. I liked it. It was kind of tonally all over the place. Like, it was kind of funny, but then it also like a hardcore shift into sad and depressing. And it was just like, guys, we gotta like maybe have a little more of a transition here. But yeah, that was pretty good. That one's on Netflix. And I'm catching up. I'm on season 5, episode 5, season 2 of The Boys, season 2. I guess we'll talk about it when it's all done. I won't spoil it, but good. I like it. It's weird. It's a lot more handheld camera work this time. I don't know why that's weird to me, but there's a lot. I notice it. Like, there's not I don't know. Have you been watching this at all, Joe? Did you get into that?
I have not, but I'm getting my sister's Amazon Prime info to start watching it because I have not even seen season 1 or any of it.
Joe,
and
yeah,
you and Drew keep talking it up, so I got to get after it.
If you'd want to watch it, I don't know if you'd want to watch it alone because some of the stuff in there's pretty messed up. But if you would want to watch it, I would watch it again. And I just rewatched season 1 in preparation for season 2, so that's kind of why I feel like I
and you're telling me you would even rewatch it another time over?
Maybe just to hear what you would say during some of the stuff.
Cool.
Like, oh my gosh, it just, man, I think you'll just love the superhero allegory in Homelander. But he is just the worst dude. But like some of the stuff he does and says. He and Carl Urban alone make that show. If it was just the two of them, it'd still probably be amazing. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool show. I'm curious. I don't want to blow it like your expectations up too high, but I hope you enjoy.
All right, I'm down. Yeah. This weekend, it's on.
Okay, I'll watch the first 2 episodes with you. You'll be like, oh god. You'll be like, this is like gorier than I was expecting.
And my dad has watched it.
Whoa, what?
And he said, it's not that bad. There's a little bit of gore. I was like, I heard there's some stuff about rape in there. He's like, yeah, there's nothing showing. It's just,
Sure.
I'm like, okay, my dad thinks it's good. He's like, second season, not as good. I'm like, what?
Dude, I love that your dad's been watching. This is amazing. Okay, so when we're done with season 2, maybe we should do like just a full The Boys episode, so that way we can talk about season 1, but maybe more about season 2 and stuff.
It'll be fun.
I really am excited for you to see it, dude. And you can smell the budget. Like, like it's like Stranger Things on Netflix. It's one of their like golden gooses, so they just gave it money. They're just like the way it's shot and all that stuff. Besides season 2, like the handheld stuff, but you're just like, wow, they got a lot of money.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but things are just coming to mind right now. I got to get them off my chest.
Get them off your chest.
So when I was at my parents' over the long weekend, I took a day off or something because my sister was visiting from Chicago, and later in the evening one night, they have Amazon Prime, and so I started it up. My dad was talking about some show he watched on there where they were talking about like these hunters that go up in the mountains and they lock themselves in like a shelter that they have made, and the hunting's really good, so they continue to go up there year after year, like from the 70s onward or something. But like that first year they were there, they kept hearing like noises, and the next thing you know, they like heard things across the river from them that were like talking but not in like English, making very strange sounds. And that's just one example, but it's called 411 The Hunted.
Oh.
And it's literally, there's this author that did these series of books called 411 The Hunted, I believe, on all these cases that are similar, and he documents all these hot spots of people that go missing in the outdoors, like in the mountains and stuff. Okay. And he has all this criteria that these cases have to meet. And it's amazing. He talks about it has to be a weather event. They have to, it has to have happened near water. There's a bunch of weird criteria that he explores, but like hunters that literally like 4 of them go into the woods and they go right off a gravel road and they sit, and they're all in like 100-foot increments or a little more. And they all come out of the woods when the hunting session's over or nighttime's coming, and the one guy doesn't come out. They call him on the walkie-talkie, no answer. They go looking for him. They searched for weeks, never found him, never found a trace of him, his rifle, his equipment, his clothing, just gone. So it's weird stuff like that, and I got sucked into it. I watched like an hour and a half of it, and he goes over all these different cases and how they're related. And just exploring the intricacies of it. And I haven't gotten through it all, obviously, because I don't have Amazon Prime myself yet. But really kind of enthralling. Like, it sucked me in big time because it's very mysterious and kind of unanswered. I don't know if it's culminating into like, here are some possible explanations, this and that, or whatever. But just cool. So there was that. The other thing I was watching is Down to Earth with Zac Efron on Netflix. Yeah. I don't know if you've checked that out, but I actually like. It's nothing like, it's not super like, oh my gosh, but at your leisure, if you ever want something to watch in the evening, it's informative, it's interesting, you get exposed to different ways of life, how they do things in Europe, a lot of green practices, and just cultural impactful things that they go over. And it could inspire like potential travel that you might want to do yourself, things of that nature. I actually found it really cool, and I actually kind of like Zac Efron a little more than I ever thought I would because of it.
Oh, cool.
And how he gets into it and that sort of thing. It's interesting. And they go all over the place. So that's cool. Worth checking out. And then there was something else, and now it's escaping me. Anyway, I'll think of it.
All right.
Continue on. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine. I appreciate it. I like listening to all this stuff. I was gonna say, what happened in 411 was in Alaska. Did you say it was up in the wilderness somewhere? What that probably was? It's a classic Squatch situation. Now that's a stealth Squatch, so they're able to take people away and never.
Some of what they talk about kind of like dips into that kind of thing a little bit, like that hunting one I was talking about, where they hear the noises. So I know you're going for a joke there and all, but
no.
Yeah, in all seriousness, decipher it how you will.
Yes, which also transitions really nicely into the fact that I want to tell everybody that there's a difference between Sasquatch and abominable snowman and a Yeti. Now, Yetis you'll find in the Himalayas, abominable snowmen you'll find kind of in Europe, potentially in the northern wastes of the North America area, and Sasquatches may or may not be abominable snowmen that go too far north, but they're usually brown fur in color. So please, for the love of God, if you were going and you're going to talk about the Himalayas, it's a Yeti, and the Yetis are not on the Matterhorn. That's an abominable snowman. If you want a Yeti, it's in the Himalayas. You're looking at Mount Everest, baby. All right, thank you. That's just from me to you.
Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
My hope is that somebody just kind of clips that out of this video and just sends it to me and be like, I really appreciated the informative monster talk. And if you're looking for Nessie, yes, it'd probably be a plesiosaurus you'd find in Loch Ness. However, that would be pretty amazing if we've had multiple generations of plesiosaur living quietly in a lake. Not impossible, but could be. Anyway, I don't want to rule it out. Just like meteor, water sounds good. Just anyway. Sorry about that. Oh, side note, apparently they found out some more information about a Spinosaurus, and they're like, the Spinosaurus, the main antagonist for Jurassic Park 3, it looks like it is actually a river monster, because they unearthed some stuff, and they showed that it had the potentially the long kind of fish-like tail, and I was like, Jurassic Park 3 got it right. I was like, they did it.
I mean, ish. I think they made it a little more bipedal than it typically was.
Yes, I meant just as far as swimming in the water, that riverboat sequence is pretty great in that
pretty
movie.
Cool. That movie still holds up. It's weird.
I like it more than 2. I like aspects of 2. I just hate the finale. Spielberg wanted to do Godzilla, and I'm like, that T-Rex wouldn't have made it 20 minutes in that. It wouldn't have made it 5 minutes in that town without getting noticed and shot.
Which brings up the question, and we should talk about it in a future episode. How are they going to do the next Jurassic World? Fallen Kingdom. I don't get it. Or not Fallen Kingdom. What's Apocalypse?
I want them to hire me because I want to do the Rogue One of Jurassic Park, where it's we do a northern setting Jurassic Park, where it's just the same style of movie as Jurassic Park, but it's just saber-tooth tiger, woolly mammoth, all that stuff. It's not actually dinosaurs. I was like, and then you're probably saber-tooth tigers are coming after you. That could be really scary if done properly. Man, that'd be so cool. Give me that, baby. Ice Age Jurassic Park. Freaking.
Didn't they do 2000 BC or whatever?
Well, it'd be better than that. It would be a park. This is 6-inch acrylic glass, and no saber-toothed tiger could ever possibly smash through it. Except for the genetically enhanced one we have right over... Bob, can you let the door open? I want to go in there and check on that saber-toothed tiger. It's
oh my God, it can camouflage!
Exactly. Oh, which... it can camouflage, and it ripped out the tracking beacon that we put in it a long time ago. It's like, where did you put it? Like,
it can hide its heat signature? What?
Which, by the way, I've had a request from Jason or DJ Strom to do a review on Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, which is kind of like a kid show they put on Netflix, and it's a lead up into Jurassic World, I guess, so like Jurassic World when it was working. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll look into it. I make no promises, but we'll see. Anyway, yeah, and as I alluded to, I talked to Joe, I should say, before this. I didn't allude to it during the show. I talked to him in real life. We had a private conversation. I talked about, I played some Red Dead Redemption 2 online with a buddy and his buddy the other day, now kind of my buddy. It was 2 hours, and it's fine. I'm not really into it anymore. And that's okay. But if you're into Red Dead and you're going to go for your daily streaks, you totally should. I just don't think games like that can have the legs, because I don't know what else you can add to it consistently over time to bring you back in, unless you just added full like campaign missions all the time and raids and fortresses and, you know, like that you can break into and stuff. I just was like,
I agree. I really wish. I guess we kind of talked about what would have made that have better legs, or, you know, what would make us still be playing it now. You kind of said that they added in some more campaign style quests for you to do with your friends, but it sounds like it's like, go hunt this person, bring them back. There would be a lot of that in a game like that. I know they're still doing like the epic animal hunts or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is a cool little thing, but I mean, to a certain degree, it's like, okay, whatever. I've hunted one, I've hunted them all. But I don't know. I almost wish that they would have just done away with the campaign altogether, although the campaign was great. Either that or made the campaign co-op purely.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, instead, if I thought it was going to be, but, like, if I played Arthur Morgan and Joe, you played one of the other members of Dutch's gang, or, like, Dutch himself or whatever, and, like, you couldn't control yourself in the cutscenes, but if you got to play as those characters, that would have been amazing, because the best thing about Red Dead are the characters, I think. Like, the story. It's not the gameplay.
Yeah.
The world is great, but, like, it's not like, I love how this game controls, because I just auto-aim and I just kind of clip up and just try to shoot people in the head all the time, and that's, like, the gameplay.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I wish there was more.
Yeah, same here. I wish they, you know, the investment is there and they still support it pretty heavily, but I feel like it's not supported as heavily as like a Grand Theft Auto, which obviously you have a lot more to work with Grand Theft Auto because it's more modern and available, you know, things to do. But I just, you know, like events, like you talked about the first Red Dead, they did a zombie apocalypse thing or whatever. Are you kidding me? Get in with your friends and it's a zombie thing, and maybe they add some special quests as part of that. Freaking great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome, but I just don't want to wander around aimlessly or have to travel from here to there or spend $20 to get from here to there. And, you know, I'm not rich like everybody else. I haven't played a lot because of what they've done with the game. You know, I want my time investment in the game to not feel, okay, I did something fun for 5 minutes. Now, okay, I've got 10 minutes of travel or setup to do to get to the next quest, or I need this to even do the quest, or that sort of thing. It had so many little features and nuances, and even in the campaign, and it was just great. I just wish it's a fun game to buddy up with people, but you also have to have the mentality of, okay, here, guys, we got a plan. We're going to do this quest, this quest, this quest. And you're actually generating something. You're having the fun, but you're also doing something that feels more meaningful.
Oh, totally.
Other than being aimless about it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to try it again and pick it up. But as you said, I mean, you got to be careful. So I don't know. I just, you know, like the events thing, zombies, that would be so cool for Halloween. They still could. Hint, hint. Hey, Rockstar, where you at? Things like that, I think could be cool to add into a game like this. That campaign vibe was good. I just wish that they could really inject that a little more robustly into the multiplayer.
Did you ever beat the campaign?
I did not. Probably because I couldn't like enjoy it with my friends as much.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
most of the time when I played it, we were all on together. We were talking like, I'm doing this, and what did you do for this? And Yeah, that was fun, but
I want a $40 expansion that's Undead Nightmare 2, like from the first game with the zombies. I didn't play that, but I heard it was good. But then also they just like add co-op. So it's a co-op campaign for the Undead Nightmare stuff, but also add co-op to the regular campaign too. Like that would be amazing. Even if you were a mute side quest or like just you didn't talk or whatever, and you made your character, you ran around with me. That would be so great. And add a few lines of dialogue from Arthur, who's like, "Yeah, this is my buddy here, and he doesn't talk so much, but he's a pretty he might not be quick-witted, but he's quick with a gun." And then your guy would just like pull out a gun and be like,
no, or the second player, whoever's hosting is the main, and it's Arthur and having all the conversations, and your guy is literally just in the backdrop.
"Exactly,
Always
that's
present.
what I mean." Yeah.
Period. Yeah. Exactly.
Straightforward. Don't
Put simply, yeah.
Yeah, I like that campaign. It's very like they want you to do things in a certain way, but the campaign is so cool, and it would have been so much better to ride out with friends because like there's moments where you're riding out with 5 or 6 or maybe 8 people, and I'm like, could one of these be my friend? Like just one, even like come on, buddy. Like, yeah. But yeah, so that's why, and it was fine. I think I've just kind of moved on from Red Dead. I think it's an amazing game still. I just am not interested. Just gameplay. The gameplay is not good enough to make me come back to play it anymore. I'm like, eh. And the rewards you get and the kind of the character progression in that game is not enough for me. But that's just me. So yeah. But that's pretty much it. And Marvel's Avengers here and there. I'm working on the review, so get that review out, and then we'll wait for Doctor Strange and Hawkeye and Black Panther to all show up in the game, and Ghost Rider eventually. I'm not giving up on this point. Anyway, Joe, we're going to move into the last segment of the show, which I like to call, and it's my personal favorite, community feedback
and questions.
Very good. Very good. I don't think we had a lot this week, which is totally fine, because we had a lot the other week. So the J-Strom, he messaged me on Discord, or he put this in Discord. He's like, can you cover this story when talking about Xbox buying Bethesda? It says, Sony was negotiating Starfield PS5 exclusivity before Xbox buyout. So, what does that mean? Bethesda has a game that they announced a while ago, Joe. Basically, it's called Starfield, and it is, well, it's mostly just... it's an image that they put up with like a little logo and stuff. And they said it's like, it's going to be a big, space RPG type of thing. And from what it sounds like, and I was kind of joking about it today on the stream, but I said, well, it sounds like PlayStation was trying to get maybe timed exclusivity to it, or maybe timed exclusivity like they do with Call of Duty, where they're getting, expansions first, or they get it first, all that stuff. And now Xbox has bought this. But I wonder... like I was joking today about like what if they Sony keeps calling Bethesda and they're like, oh guys, we're really excited about that Starfield exclusivity, and then they're like they call another day and they're like, hey, I want to talk to Frank, and they're like, actually we're going to redirect you to Becky over at Microsoft, and they're like, no, I want to talk to people at Bethesda, we're going to talk about Starfield. They're like, well, yeah, you're just going to want to talk to them, and then like they're getting the news and they're like, what do you guys mean we can't have this? But yeah, it's fascinating, and maybe that like there's more information about it than I know right now. I'm not surprised. I doubt that exclusivity will continue if that's the case, unless there's a lot of money put into it and Microsoft is interested in it still. But yeah, I think if you're Microsoft and you bought this new thing, you want to have it firing all the cannons simultaneously. You don't want to have one of your cool new experimental cannons like sitting over there and they'll be like, oh, we got to pick that up and put it on another ship. Like you want to be like, no, light that one up, and it's part of it. And in all the press releases and the stuff that they talked about with the purchase of ZeniMax and Bethesda coming up here, is that Starfield was one of the names that went side by side with Doom and Wolfenstein and Elder Scrolls, and they're propping this thing up. Like, this is a big deal. And I think Phil Spencer has seen it. I think there have been a few people who have seen it. So whatever it is, it could be incredible. We just haven't seen it yet. But apparently Xbox and, PlayStation, Sony and Microsoft both think it's worth quite a lot. Really interesting stuff, right? And it's like, for us, we haven't seen it, so it's like, I don't know. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's a loaded question.
How do you feel about this thing that we're just talking about now?
The investment in the Starfield thing. I think you said it all. I got to be honest. I don't have 2 cents to add, I don't think. Not to cop out, but
yeah.
I don't.
yeah, it's just really interesting because I'm kind of reading more here where they're talking about like the exclusivity of it, and if they hadn't been purchasing ZeniMax and Bethesda, that maybe Sony would have gotten that exclusivity. But still, this thing. So Starfield was announced. I said a couple E3s ago. It was actually technically 2019. That would have been a couple E3s ago if we had an E3 2020. But yeah, I said, it was mostly a logo, which is fine. It was just like people were just like shouting and crying out for it. And I think it's because if you like Bethesda RPGs and they're announcing a brand new, IP, and even if they don't show anything, it's something to be excited about if you love all that stuff, right?
Elder Scrolls in space.
Exactly. That's maybe it. We don't know. Is it going to be... I said this today too, besides Cyberpunk, which is coming out, which will maybe make me turn on it. I'm not a huge fan of open world first person games. There's something about them that never feels as, I don't know, they try to envelop you more.
Immersive.
Yeah, to me, I just have had some bad experiences with first person.
I grinded hard to get this cool outfit, but I never see it.
Well, I joke about that too with like cosmetics. Like in Overwatch, it works because like if you're doing your ultimate, sometimes you see your character, but like the guns and the arms, they look pretty different, right? We're like, okay, this looks cool. But in a lot of those first person games, like, look at my sick outfit. And be like, I see that more than you do, right? Like... It's like, but it looks cool. I guess it's the loading screens or the menu screens where you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, like Call of Duty, I think about that. I got, look at my character. I got the cool skin. Like, yeah, I mean, my gloves look great.
Yeah. You look sick, bro. Your gun skins are cool. Like, that's something.
I just know that every person I kill sees me. I'm the last thing they see.
Yeah.
Man, that guy looked dope.
They think that, or they're already rage quitting to go out to the next one. They're just like, I'm out of here. I'm getting out of here. Yeah, but Jason, great question. I appreciate you writing in about that. And we might find out more about that in the future. And I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. I know a lot of people aren't huge fans of exclusivity and they feel like you're kind of limiting people to things. And we talked about earlier, like how it's a cool thing for Microsoft to be buying this up. Bethesda and all that. I think it just strengthens their position, and I just want them to have a strong position because I think Sony has had a dominant position for so long, and I would really like to see both of them make things that are really great, that aren't either Call of Duty or Madden, because like most people on both systems buy those games, and they're fine. It's fine, Joe, it's fine. But like I just want to see the creativity of the things that aren't cash cows. I want the golden geese, like I want the things that are like, oh, you make this one thing every couple of years. And it's really interesting, right?
I think that's well put.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you all for writing in, or thank you, Jason, for writing in. Anybody else has written in the past, if you ever do want to write into the show, guys, do it, or just leave a comment down below with it. But you can tweet us the hashtag Critical Podcast. Look at that; it just came down from the screen. You can tweet at our official account, which is at GoCritical, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. But if you want to help the cause, keep tweeting at Twitter until they give me at JimmyGood, because for goodness sakes, that account, they're not using it, and I keep asking Twitter for it. Anyway, sorry, Joe. Where can they find you on Twitter? I know you're on there.
Yeah, nobody bugs me on Twitter, but I don't mind. At Lever_627. Lever just like beaver, only with an L.
Time to start flooding him with gifts. If you guys could all, who are watching this week, send him a bunch of gifts, maybe Call of Duty gifts that are inside jokes that he would really appreciate. Because
I'm desperate for a laugh on the daily. And yes, Jimmy, you're right. I like the Call of Duty stuff.
Dude, that's the second best sentence you said tonight, besides that other one, which was, I can't even remember. It was super good, though. It's about, like, mistrust or something.
Oh, your desires are misplaced.
Your desires are misplaced. What was that even reference to? I was like,
it was about if you're watching Tax Collector just for Shia LaBeouf.
Dude, your desires are misplaced. Dude, that is like a reviewer, like a New York Times reviewer. Man, I love that. And then just, I'm desperate for a laugh on the daily. So if you could just kind of... So send him those. That way he's looking at Twitter while he's at work.
It's like I should maybe be on a podcast or something.
It's like you should. Well, if only you're welcome every week. Yeah. Oh, God. But yeah, if you want to support us, there's a lot of ways to do so. I'm streaming over at Twitch. You can do that. Just come over, hang out with us. Twitch.tv/Critical Reviews. We have an Instagram. trying to be on more. Katie's posting stuff on there, so if you happen to miss a new video, we post a picture and kind of stuff on there. And then, or like exclusive things on there, just like funny little videos we come up with. We might be doing TikTok. I don't know. Katie's talked about this. I'm not sure I'm cool enough for it. I did have a funny joke about like, because there's this ice cream truck that's been rolling around our neighborhood, and kind of recreating that moment in Fellowship of the Ring where Frodo sees like down the pathway, and it does that kind of reverse zoom shot like thing, and then just get off the road. But like it's the ice cream truck, like because you hear like it's playing Christmas music too, so it's wild, it's nuts. Anyway, but if you want to support us in the biggest way possible, you can go over to our Patreon. Probably seen that there. If you're $5 and up, you get an early podcast if you're a conscript, and then you also get your name here at the end. Isn't that nice? Look at that, your name's there. So I appreciate all the people who are doing that. You guys are amazing. Thank you. But just sharing us around, that is the best thing you can do. Just share us on Facebook, on Twitter. Just share it with a friend. Tell someone in real life. We have an audio version of this too now that's on Spotify. So if you'd rather listen to that, it's on Spotify and maybe Google Play and other places. I don't know how it all works, but check it out. Let me know if anybody's listening, because I want to know if it sounds good. Anyway, this week's special hashtag should be hashtag your desires are misplaced. It's a nice long one that no one will understand unless you watch it. But comment about. I really want to hear what you guys think of all these new consoles and things. I'm curious. We've talked about it, but I want to know more. Anyway, Joe, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you on, buddy.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's my
for sure.
The pleasure is all mine, sir. And thank you for everybody who's watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Yeah, bye. You did it. Look at you.
We did it. We did it, Jimmy.